Is the White House being modernized or quietly sold? I'll cut through the dust. Maya brings historical, community urgency. Leo brings forensic process scrutiny. Missing approvals, secret donors, and a ripped facade make this a democracy story with immediate stakes. Stay with us. Tonight, the official story says modernization, zero cost to taxpayers, and respect for history. The public story shows excavators chewing through the East Wing and a promise that nothing will be torn down, colliding with debris on the lawn.
Look, people are watching windows ripped out and walls torn back. They hear "near it, not touching it," then see a wing of the people's house gutted. That is not modernization. That is a power move.
Or it is construction. Media framed this as desecration before the blueprints dried. A ballroom for state visits might be overdue. Headlines say apocalypse, but officials say the main residence stays intact.
Here is the verified timeline. In July, President Trump announced a privately funded ballroom, saying every president wanted one for over 150 years, and promising no taxpayer cost and no interference with the mansion. Tree clearing began in September. Demolition sounds became audible across the grounds by mid-October. As the East Wing's covered south entryway was torn open, East Wing offices will relocate while the wing is modernized and renovated. McCrary Architects is designing, Clark Construction is building, and AECOM supports engineering. Carrier offered to donate a world-class, energy-efficient HVAC system. Secret Service will handle security enhancements on site.
And yet, nothing will be torn down, was the line. We now have torn out facade and windows. That contradiction matters. It erodes trust and invites the obvious question: what else is being kept in the dark?
He also said it will not touch the main building. The East Wing is an addition, last reshaped in 1942. If crews are working in the wing and not the residence, that is still consistent with his statement.
Except photos show the East Wing is physically attached. People were told near it, not touching it. Now they hear the crash of demolition. Words versus reality is the point, not legal hair splitting.
Capacity and scope have also shifted. Early claims spoke of 600 seats, then 650, and even 999. Cost chatter ranges from about $200 million to roughly $250 million.
Event needs are real. The East Room seats far fewer guests for state dinners. Presidents improvise with tents. If private donors want a permanent solution, taxpayers avoiding the bill is not exactly scandalous.
Private money comes with private interests. We have reports of executives and tech billionaires at a fundraiser and talk of names etched inside. That is access culture carved into the walls of the people's house.
The White House says donors will be disclosed, and that many generous patriots and companies are contributing. As of now, no donor list has been released. That is a transparency gap, and preservation groups want a public review.
The Society of Architectural Historians is nervous. The AIA wants process. Fine. But critics jump straight to vanity project and desecration. Half the coverage reads like campaign ads, not oversight reports.
Because the oversight is missing. The National Capital Planning Commission did not give formal sign-off before demolition. Offices were closed during a shutdown, and we are told their role is only vertical build. Convenient.
NCPC Chair Will Scharf, who is also the White House staff secretary, told the commission they review construction, not site prep or demolition. That dual role alone raises perception issues, even if the rulebook backs him up.
Perception is not proof. If the commission's remit starts at vertical build, then site prep proceeding is lawful. Let process run and save the pitchforks for after a real vote, not before the paperwork is even filed.
Except we are already past pitchforks. A historic facade was pulled apart. Former officials say rigorous review appears incomplete. That is not patience. That is demolition racing far ahead of accountability.
Let us bring in the public voice. One viral clip captures the president beaming, "They have wanted a ballroom for 150 years. The new one will hold 999 people." That boast hit the air as rubble piled up.
He was also making the case for function. Host state dinners, not squeeze 88 into the East Room. I hear an argument for capacity, not a coronation. The 999 line is showman's flair.
Showman's flair is not governance. During a shutdown, he is musing about cocktails and knockout panels while the Secret Service babysits a dig site. Taxpayers are paying in disruption and security hours, even if the checks come from donors.
Preservationists add historical weight. The East Wing dates to 1902, last altered in 1942. This would be the most significant exterior change in decades. That is why procedure and materials matter so much here.
True, and the architect says they aim to preserve the classical design and importance of the people's house. If done well, a glass-walled event space could complement, not cannibalize, the site.
Glass walls are not virtue, they are optics. The question is influence. Who buys a seat at a 999-person table? Who gets naming rights? If foreign money flows, emoluments alarms should ring loudly.
We should note, allegations about emoluments and Article 1 violations are claims by critics. The White House insists private funds cover construction, and donor disclosure is promised. The facts we can verify stop there for now.
Then verify what is visible. Officials said it would not interfere, the wing is opened up. They said nothing would be torn down. Parts were torn down. That pattern is why lawsuits are being urged. People do not trust assurances anymore.
And some of those urging lawsuits built brands on outrage. This is where media bias shows. Crane equals destroying the White House. The White House itself is not the East Wing. We can debate taste without crying arson at every spark.
Internationally, the story is spreading. One Urdu newscast reported a White House portion demolished for a ballroom, and said media expect the central building could be affected due to the project's scale, while the president says it will not.
See? Even abroad, the takeaway is scale and risk. If a plan can ripple from DC to Delhi's news cycle, then the process should be transparent enough to withstand global scrutiny. Right now, it is not.
Foreign bulletins also stack it next to smog and border skirmishes. Context gets lost. Let us keep our eye on the paperwork. NCPC review for vertical build, Park Service consulted, Secret Service upgrades. That is the institutional track.
A preservation expert, Robert K. Sutton, warns that we do not know what is happening and that normal, rigorous review seems incomplete. The AIA wants transparent review. Those are not partisan firebrands. They are process people.
And a former member of Congress vowed to tear the ballroom down if he returns to office. That is how severe the backlash is, not just on aesthetics, but on legitimacy. Build in secret and you invite demolition by the next administration.
Then build better. Publish donors. Show materials. Document the review. If the case is strong, sunlight helps. If not, critics will have more than vibes. I am fine with that standard applied across the board, by the way.
Let us recap what is firm. A roughly 90,000 square foot glass-walled events space is envisioned to host state visits and large ceremonies. Construction firms are named, tree clearing and demolition occurred, offices are relocating. And what is contested? Capacity and costs vary by source. NCPC's authority over the early phase is disputed in spirit, if not in statute. The promise of no interference conflicts with demolition imagery of the East Wing entry.
On costs, private pledges mean taxpayers might dodge a bill north of $200 million. Carrier donating the HVAC is not sinister. It is branding. Companies donate to stadiums and museums. The People's House can accept gifts too.
Difference is influence. Stadium donors do not oversee federal policy. If tech or finance titans cut 25 million checks, will they get policy carve-outs and backdoor access? Ethics rules exist because influence is subtle and corrosive.
Which is why disclosure is the fix. Post the list. If foreign donors appear, say so and justify it or refuse it. Ethics offices can weigh in. Process, not panic, keeps the focus on facts rather than insinuation.
Facts include the president personally courting donors. Public pitch. It will cost you $25 million. I will take it. That is not arm's length. That is a hand extended across the state China for a checkbook.
The White House also says the ballroom will be ready before January 2029, well within the term. Critics see that timeline and argue it signals an intent to entrench. Supporters call it scheduling, not scheming.
Scheduling. Major projects take years. Saying a finish line beats saying shrug emoji. If we start reading astrology into calendars, we will never build anything again.
Then stop the spin. If you want to modernize, say you will open the wing, relocate staff, and rebuild the entry. Do not say nothing will be torn down, then tear it down. Credibility is the scaffolding. Without it, everything wobbles.
Another gap. Materials and preservation standards. We have promises of classical respect, but no in-depth vetting publicly released on stone, glass, or connections to the existing fabric. That is the architect's homework we cannot see yet.
McCrary's team has a track record with classical work. If they botch it, I will join Maya at the barricades. Until then, let us not confuse anger with evidence. Ask for drawings, not just drone shots and doom.
Drone shots show harm. You cannot untear a facade. Once the precedent is set that private patrons can redraw a national landmark while regulators are out of office for a shutdown, you normalize power bypassing process.
Or you normalize public-private partnerships, which governments use constantly. Museums, memorials, even park renovations. It is not inherently dirty to ask donors to fund ceremonial infrastructure we otherwise cannot afford.
This is the White House, not a park pergola. The West and East Wings are not event halls. They are workplaces tied to our democracy. Build a donor ballroom next door, not welded into a living landmark while oversight sleeps.
We are also seeing language battles, modernization and renovation versus tearing down. In law, those terms can overlap. In politics, they diverge sharply on the nightly news. That is why precise public documents matter.
And the nightly news loves a contradiction. He said near it, not touching it. Then a backhoe touched it. That is a layup for critics. Politically self-inflicted, yes. Substantively fatal to the project, no.
Substantively, it is fatal to trust. If the First Lady's offices must relocate because the wing is opened up, say that. If security adds walls and checkpoints, say that. Do not hide behind a glass rendering and a promise of beauty.
Beauty is subjective, oversight is not. The AIA's call for transparent review, the historian's warning, and NCPC's constrained role are concrete issues. So is the missing donor list. Those are the measurable gaps to watch.
One more thing. Capacity inflation. 600, 650, 999. If staff cannot keep their numbers straight, they are handing critics their talking points. Pick a number and defend it with codes and egress plans.
And defend it with ethics. If the room exists to seat donors, not diplomats, say that out loud. We have seen the guest lists, Microsoft, Google, Palantir, Blackstone. This is not a civic bake sale. It is elite underwriting of power.
State dinners include CEOs. That is not new. If you wanted to ban corporate donors, argue for a rule. Until then, public-private money is the system we built. I would rather codify guardrails than shout into a hashtag.
We are at the collision of symbolism and structure. A wing ripped open in the name of grandeur, a promise of zero tax dollars, and regulators who say, for now, their jurisdiction starts later. The blueprint is as political as it is architectural.
The risk is capture. If the People's House becomes a donor wall with a diplomatic chandelier, you transform a civic symbol into a branded venue. That is a quiet, permanent shift in what government is for and who it serves.
Or you get a tool the building lacked, a room big enough to host allies, mourn tragedies, and celebrate victories without a tent. I can live with grandeur if process is clean and the result respects the bones of the place.
As Maya argued earlier, the contradictions have to be resolved in public. As Leo just said, process can cure some of this. Here is what we will watch. The donor list, the NCPC timeline, Park Service filings, and preservation standards.
And a moratorium on demolition until transparent review finishes. If the claim is respect, prove it. Show the materials, show the load paths, show the security plan that does not turn the South Lawn into a gated compound.
Show the plan, yes, but do not pretend construction is a coup. The East Wing has been altered before. If this is additive and reversible, we should weigh that. Not every change is desecration. Some are stewardship.
Final recap. Facts. Demolition at the East Wing. Private funds pledged. A large glass event space proposed. Security upgrades planned. Gaps. Approvals timing, donor transparency, and reconciling public promises with on-site reality. Next time, we will bring architects and ethics experts into the same room. Can a new ballroom serve the Republic without selling it a ticket? As the concrete cures, that answer will too. Stay with us.